Because the 50% field effect is better than having Kain on the team, because Kain kind of sucks. Lightning Dragoons are not as good as Wind Dragoons. Wind Dragoons have access to Sky High, which is a really good 6-star ability. Lightning Dragoons don't. They attack too slowly and don't really contribute that much to a chain. So they can't dual cast or anything like that. Best thing I can do with them is give them Thunder God mode, and Sora works better with that. So using Garnet for the better chain is better. And Kain can't dispel. Garnet can. Yes, Pedro. Prompto can help a lot. Right, because he can imperil a lot. Would Shantoto be better than Kain? Possibly. Shantoto stacks up a chain really quickly, so she's kind of like Prompto in a way. Where Prompto imperils, but Shantoto adds so many hits on a chain that she might as well be imperiling. And the quick cast 2 to the entire party is also extremely good. So yeah, I would probably say Shantoto's better than Kain as well. Okay, so we're talking about Geosgaeno now. Let's go over the team comp from top to bottom. We have Garnet, who is, in this fight, going to use both her Chain and her Burst Soul Break 2. Her Burst Soul Break 2 is pretty valuable in the fight. Larsa, who you could actually sub in Iris, I think. Iris with her Burst Soul Break. Or I don't use Larsa's Burst Soul Break in here because it's not good enough. The heal is kind of light, and the nice part about Iris is that the Stone Skin 30% that her BSB provides nets more damage protection than Larsa. So if I use Larsa's Burst here, people just end up dying because it's not enough healing. I would have to Legend Dive Larsa, where I don't think I would have to Legend Dive Iris. So back to Garnet, we have no damaging abilities on her this time. I don't have Valley Gourmand on her because Ash uses that as a 6-star ability to generate Soul Break points at the start of the fight, which allows her to get off her USB cast without any help whatsoever. We do have an Entruster in this fight, but nothing goes towards Vivi or Ash. They both they self-generate. But we do have Garnet with Allegro Con Moto, and Allegro Con Moto is very interesting, and I didn't ever expect to use it together with Onion Knight's USB, but because I don't really have the opportunity to recast Onion Knight's USB, he's really valuable as an Entruster here, because Larsa can't keep the party alive without it. It's really nice to have that from an alternate source. And that's why Garnet's Burst Soul Break is so valuable, is because there comes a point in the fight where I can't Allegro Con Moto anymore. And she needs something else to do. And her Command 2 is a 4-hit lightning ability, and she does a fair amount of damage with it, because by that point in the fight, the chain is stacked very well, and she does about 30k per turn with it, which is plenty. So that's Garnet, and you see her in the first position. That's a very important position for her to be in, because this is where she abuses her Trance mode, and I'll talk about that when that happens. Larsa you see with Thunder God mode, and the reason why I have Thunder God mode on him, because this is a mage team. And this is something I would use probably on Aerith as well, on a physical team, because the cast speed buff that's provided by Onion Knight and Allegro Con Moto is the same exact buff. It's a Magical Quick Cast 3, which halves the cast time of any damaging magical action that people make. So Onion Knight uses Vortex, damaging magical action. Garnet, well, most of the time doesn't use any magical actions until the very end of the fight. But most importantly, Vivi and Ash use damaging actions or magical actions the entire fight. Larsa does not gain any benefit from that whatsoever over the course of the fight. So in order for him to keep up, even with getting in trust, because this boss does a lot of damage, he needs Thunder God mode. And it works out perfectly because he gets off the perfect amount of actions over the course of the fight. He does not have an easy time healing this fight. And most of my troubles sub-30ing this fight had to do with getting the exact number of turns and what actions to do on those turns to generate the right amount of soul break points. And who specifically to heal. I target 2 different heals in this fight. So, yeah, him using Thunder God mode was the only thing that I could do. And it was really, really difficult to come up with that. Which is kind of surprising. I guess it's obvious that I have the damage output in this team, but healing it is weird because sometimes you do so much damage because this boss has some very powerful start of phase attacks, and that's what made it so difficult, because if you do too much damage, then he out damages your healing. And unfortunately, I kind of need Larsa in this fight because I don't have any arcanes. And something that happens later on in the fight is the boss petrifies the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th positions. And something you can do in the case that happens is you can let yourself get petrified. And have your 2 primary damage dealers be in the 1st and 5th positions, and they can finish off the fight, because that's going to happen when the bosses has like 25% HP left. You can take that and let your team get petrified if you have enough damage to make it through that last 25%. Since I don't have arcanes, it will make it like a very, very low percentage. Like everyone would need to dual cast perfectly. And you know, that sucks. So I don't want to do that. So I had to use an Astra healer here, because there's no way you do this fight without Quetzalcoatl as your primary. So you can't use Unicorn for that either. So I had to use either Larsa or Iris. I don't have Iris's BSB, so Larsa's the guy. So fortunate that I got Larsa's USB on the first banner of the festival, or I would have had to select Iris's BSB off of the Acolyte Archives, which I could have done and would have been fun. I do have her LMR, would have been cool, but being able to make use of that Larsa USB that I got definitely makes me happy. So there's Larsa. Next up is Vivi. This is my first time using Vivi in an important fight, and as you're going to see, he lives up to the hype. He is a fire mage, and he is going to deal an unruly amount of lightning damage. Because he dual casts black magic, and he can triple cast at a 50% chance to triple cast when he's in trance mode, and that's why you see him in the front row right now. Because before Larsa starts using his Medica to heal the party, because at that point it's very unlikely that you're going to trigger your trance mode, I need Vivi's trance to trigger, and in order for that to happen, he needs to be in the front row. And it works out fine, because he takes that physical attack and it deals a ton of damage to him. His trance mode goes, and as soon as his trance mode happens, the chain is also happening at that time. It's actually a perfect timing. So even though he hasn't used his USB yet, he still has a chance to dual cast, which is nice. It's 50%, so it's not even a bad chance anymore. Ash is Well, she doesn't do anything complicated in this fight. She uses Valigarmanda twice, and then one Chain Thundaga. That allows her to use her USB, and then a million Chain Thundagas, and that's the end of the fight. The reason why she does 2 Valigarmandas and 1 Chain Thundaga is by the time she gets that third action, the chain is active, and I'd rather have her 4 hit the chain, because it does about the same amount of damage, because Valigarmanda is capped, and it does 1 more hit. And if she dual casts, then that's 2 more hits on the chain. It's not that much, but it's something. And she doesn't need the soul break points. She is a character that would much rather use her ability than cast her USB. The only time, or the best time to recast her USB is at the start of a chain, because it's 10 hits, 10 guaranteed hits. And they're pumped up hits, where her chase is kind of a low multiplier. So you get a lot more benefit out of recasting a USB, and you see that when it comes. Onion Knight is the real complicated character in this fight, because he needs to fuel the entire party, and he needs to fuel 2 different people and at the exact right timings. And he does that using Vortex as a soul breakpoint generator. And and then entrusts to both Garnet and Larsa. And down below we have the Magicite deck. We have a Garuda in there because I was more prepared for the physical team because of my clears. I have a bad Quetz clear, and I haven't been able to farm many of them. So I had 2 Behemoth Kings for my physical team, but I only have 1 Quetz. So I had to fill a slot with Garuda, and that's fine. If that's what you got to do, then that's what you got to do. But again, emphasize importance that's perfectly acceptable to only have 1 of each. And I think moving forward, I'm only going to aim to have 1 of each. And 2 Evrays, of course. So let's oh, I didn't talk about RMs that much. There's not much to talk about. Garnet, because of her delayed chain, you're going to see why, doesn't get that 50% magic buff on the party fast. So Onion Knight and his USB is actually pretty vital here, even though stacking Onion Knight's USB and the chain is not that great from a plus magic perspective, especially for 2 characters who self-buff as well as Vivi and Ash do. But him being able to instantly haste the party at the start of the fight and let them deal a little bit of more damage for the first couple turns of the fight because of the 30% magic buff is useful. Okay, so let's get going. So Onion Knight does go first in this fight, because mages are slow pokes. Ugh, I didn't have the volume up very high on this one. This one is nice because I can use the left ability for all 4 of these characters. It does stink because Ash can take our turn right now, but I have to get through 3 other people's actions to get there. So it stinks that it's not staggered. Generating soul break points on both Ash and Vivi. Shelga with Larsa. Oh no, Shelga with Garnet and Projecka with Larsa. Instant wall with second turn. We did the typical setup with Onion Knight and his Olimar on this team. And you saw that This is what Geosgaeno does on his second turn. He does over 7,000 damage to the first position, which happens to be a perfect amount of damage for Garnet to trigger her trance mode. My second trance mode in this party is Vivi. Vivi does not have enough health or defenses to survive that attack, so Garnet's got to be the one. So that's a lot of damage to happen on the first turn, but Garnet goes ahead and says, okay, thanks. And you see I target a heal on Garnet here. I have to do this in order for Larsa to heal the party long enough for him to get his USB available. Even with Thunder God mode. Because this boss puts out a lot of damage, as you're going to see here. That's a 50% gravity attack. Third turn with Onionite is a Vortex. This is to generate some Soul Break points, and he's going to give these to Larsa, which is going to allow him to heal the party up after they take a bunch of damage. And now we target another heal on Ash, and it's also very important that I do this or the run ends. Still using Chain Thundagas on Vivi. And now that the chain is active, I use Chain Thundaga on Ash, and this is exactly why. Because it allows her to deal more overall damage as well as stack the chain a little better. And on Garnet's third turn, everyone has taken 3 actions. Well, Vivi and Ash specifically have taken 3 actions, which means their Quick Cast Magic 3 from Onionite is gone. This is a perfect time for me to Allegro Con Moto, and that's why I do this now, instead of waiting. I would only need to wait like 1 second for Garnet to use the Magicite. The Magicite is really important to use in this fight, because this is another one of those fights where if you don't break the damage cap, the boss's Savage mode halves your damage output, which really sucks. I eventually came to the conclusion that getting the Quick Cast Magic off right now, so both Ash and Vivi can quick cast their USBs out next turn, was more important than breaking the damage cap, or breaking the damage cap and, you know, making the boss vulnerable. And the reason for that is because Vivi's USB doesn't even do anything. So there's reduced benefit to having the damage cap broken for this turn. So I don't care that much. So we do wait another turn, and it's nice because it sets up some convenient instant damage cap breaks later on in the fight. I wait for this Aqua Breath, and you see this Aqua Breath deals a ton of damage, and both Ash and Garnet would be dead right now if I hadn't targeted those heals on them earlier. And another reason why it's not that important for me to break the damage cap right now is Ash's USB entry actually doesn't do a lot of damage if I'm not using her LMR, and her LMR doesn't work well in this fight. So I don't really lose that much by not having the cap broken right now. That's doing non-elemental damage. As you can see, I'm not missing much. Now, one thing I can do with Onionite on this turn prior is hold his Vortex to go off after Garnet's cap break, but sometimes I just prefer not to do that because there is the potential that I do too much damage in this fight with the right dual casts, which can easily happen. And if I do too much damage, then the boss out damages my heals. So it's not even that big of a deal that I Vortex into a 50% damage reduction here. And honestly, in some ways, it's better that I do, because Onionite takes his turn faster, generates, you know, soul break points faster that he can entrust to other people faster. And you see, Unionite's second Entrust goes to Garnet. So he has a very predictable turn pattern here. First turn was USB, second turn was Wall. Vortex Entrust to Larsa. Vortex Entrust right now to Garnet. Then he's going to Vortex Entrust to Larsa. And then from that point on, it's just Vortex to the end of the fight. And now we see Vivi do his thing. Like, automatic dual cast of Chain Thundaja, well, that's 100,000 damage. Oh, 50% chance to dual cast, that's 150,000 damage. Thanks, Vivi. Vivi is disgusting. Refresh Allegro Con Moto. It is one turn early, but she didn't have anything else to do on that turn anyway. Not every run do I have the opportunity to wait for that and trust, and I'd honestly rather not. The 50% damage reduction is up right now, and even at the chain at this level, Ash was still capping and Vivi's coming close. Alright, I'm getting a worrying amount of dual cast right now. Now we're going to be dealing even more damage. At this point of the chain, I do not find the Savage mode threatening at all. Everything is going to cap, because there is 40% in peril as well as a 101% chain. So that attack that he just did, that was an auto hit poison. So the previous Astra that I had on my team was removed, and that's why it's important to time your Astra correctly. Of course, with the instant USB, I don't have to, but if I was using Iris's BSB, I would need that. Definitely need that Thunder God mode in order for a BSB to go off after that attack, which removed my Astra, reapply Astra, because next turn is going to be the Petrify. There it is. Doesn't really do anything. If you have Astra up. Vivi has run out of hones now. I could have honed Chain Thundaga one more. But it's the team does so much damage that it was unnecessary. And even though he's going to single cast that, he still had a chance to dual cast. I would say so, yes, E-Daddy. Unless you have Larsa dived. Then, of course, he's better. And you see, I saved Ash's USB recast for the new chain, because it still does a lot of damage, even at a low chain count, and it's 10, it's 10 hits. So on the next turn, that's a nice amount of damage from Garnet's Command 2. And Vivi's just done. His fight has ended. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see what Ashe does on the next turn, because I did a lot of damage during this fight. Not my fastest clear, but close. Pinello USB could also work, right? Because the Petrify attack is physical, you can physical blink it. Yep, Astra is not necessary if you can completely dodge the attack. I should try this fight with Arc, Super Soul Break 2 sometime. I wonder how that would work. Honestly, I probably should have tried that before making this video, because it would have been a really fun video. Tyro USB 1 is not fast cast or anything, and it barely heals anything. I wouldn't call it a good alternate, but it's a potential alternate. But I do really like Tyro's USB 1, and you could make it work, so sure. Edge USB 0 also works, or Edge Super Soul Break 2. Nope, just one Neros. Automatic dual cast, 50% chance to triple cast, no chance to quad cast. What's up? How would I use Edge? Flash Disaster to generate Soul Break points. Flash Disaster and Ripper Bolt. And just USB whenever possible. Or, you know, you would time the USB to go off for when you need Last Stand. Except for that Petrify attack later in the fight where you know you need to have a physical blink active. So that's what you need to have. Is Last Stand to protect people from dying, which will happen often in this fight. This boss does a ton of damage. And make sure that you dodge the Petrify. Yes, I would use Vivi's LMR. Vivi's LM1 is equipped right now. It is 10% fire damage. It does 0 in this fight. He never does fire damage. Even his USB cast does non-elemental. And Vivi is... Oh, actually, is it LMR? I don't know. Maybe not. Because he caps so easily in this fight that... I mean, what am I really gaining from using his LMR? Nothing. Barely anything. What is Amo's USB? I forgot. Is it Physical Blink or Astra? In this fight, E-Daddy? This is the magic fight. You're using lightning in the magic fight? What do you mean replace? Vivi's are? Oh, well, to make him do less damage? Thunder God mode's already on Larsa and is required. I don't know what else I'd put on him. 15% chance to dual cast, so he'd have a chance to quad cast. I don't know if it's worth it. I prefer the consistency. of the 30% increased damage from Scholar's Boon, and instead of attacking slower but with a 15% chance to add an attack. Yes, yeah. Queen would make an awesome character in Fanfare. Trance modes are just really good for fights where you need your healer to be independent for it a little while or the entire fight. Fanfare, my healer's independent for the entire fight. In this fight, Larsa needs to last a long time. And he pulls that off thanks to 2 trance modes. Well, 1 trance mode. He targets a heal on Garnet anyway at the start of the fight. So her healing from her trance isn't that important. The trance mode itself is awesome, though. Garnet having 2 times cast speed for the entire fight is incredible. Is there any bad trance? I don't really care for the... No, Armorant's is fine. I don't really care for the trances that don't heal. Like Gilgamesh's. It's okay. It's fine. It's good. But that heal is so important. And losing that kind of stinks. But if there's any bad trance, no, I don't think so. A trance is the sign of a good dive, usually. Almost always. I think there's more than just Gilgamesh's, too. Let me take a look. Biggs? We don't have access to Biggs yet, but Biggs doesn't heal him. Wall from Final Fantasy 1 grants elemental boost when HP falls below 20%. That's an LMR, though. That's more acceptable on an LMR. No, Emperor's Trance is... does heal him. Dark Knight Cecil grants Last Stand and Thirsting Blade for 25 seconds. No heal. But Last Stand is cool. Sid from Final Fantasy IV. Wow, there's even a lot more than I thought there was. Sid from Final Fantasy IV grants Last Stand and Hailstorm for 25 seconds. Gilgamesh grants Protect, Shell, Haste, and Gilgamesh Trance when HP falls below 20%. Terra is a heal, Locke is a heal, Gao is a heal, Vincent's a heal, Seph's a heal, Zidane is a heal, Garnet's a heal. Final Fantasy IX gets some nice trances. Steiner's is a heal. Steiner's is restores HP for 100% of the user's maximum HP and grants Steiner Trance when HP falls below 20%. I'm not going to go look up what Steiner's Trance is. Freya's is a heal, Quina heal, Eiko heal, Amarant heal, Naorat Shantoto also a heal, Horsebrow also a heal, Gafgarian also a heal, Queen also a heal, and finally Jack is not a heal. Grants Retaliate and 75% critical when HP falls below 20%. Doesn't his USB do something that does not mesh with that at all? Retaliate and 75% chance critical. Attack plus 30%, cast speed times 3 for samurai abilities, dual cast samurai abilities, removed if the user doesn't have any stone skin. Okay, it's actually pretty good. Works really well with his USB.